Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, yes, I changed things up. I had to go resort to the thesaurus, right? A little tired about amazingly or incredibly, so it's shockingly. GamingGang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. This is live stream 911. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And we also, the majority of the time, take a first look at a tabletop game, which is what we'll be doing tonight as we dive into the first part of our two-part Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20 series. That's right, we are going to be diving on into the Player's Guide. Yes, we are going to delve into the secret war. And stay tuned, because I'm going to tell you how you can win yourself a copy of the Player's Guide in PDF. Yes, once again, another secret contest just for people who watch this show. I'm being tricky like that. Anyway, we are going to dive on into the Player's Guide in just a bit. But if you are not overly familiar with the Gaming Gang Dispatch, let me point out we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it's probably going to be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we get into that first look. There is something that is on my mind I want to talk about as well after I dive into the news. But I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to carry on about it for too long, but it is something that I did run across today and I do want to address because it's something I feel is fairly important. So if you are watching live and you're tuning in because you want to check out the Player's Guide for Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20, kick back, relax, enjoy yourself, put your feet up. We'll get to it. Don't worry. I swear, I promise. Scout's honor. Though I was never a scout, but Scout's honor anyway. We will take a look at that Player's Guide. So just, it is what it is there. Now, of course, if you're watching this show 30 minutes or more after it ends, then there will be timestamps. So if you are impatient and you need to get to that first look, you can use those timestamps to jump on past the tabletop gaming news and get right on into that first look and page through. Of course, those timestamps are located in the show notes, and depending on the device you happen to be watching this on, might be right there in front of you in the timeline. All depends. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not, English, Jeff, you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe you want to get a closer look at something inside the player's guide, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Also need to point out, you must be a subscriber to take part in chat, and you must be a subscriber for at least 48 hours in order to take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. So let's see, who is here with us in chat tonight? First out the gate, it is the Motor City Madman himself. Yes, the Madman is with us. He also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Project Perdome is with us, as is Kathy Evans, John Muscola, and Flaming Heron. Yet another one of our chat moderators, except he's across the pond over in Australia, hanging out, watching the stream. So welcome, everybody. Let's jump on into the news because I've got quite a bit tonight. Arriving May 3rd is a 3-part mystery game series that looks very, very interesting and very, very unique. It looks pretty different. It is from Arcane Wonders. I've got the scoop on Mother of Frankenstein. Inspired, but not entirely beholden to, the incredible real life of Mary Shelley, Mother of Frankenstein is a 10 to 15 hour experience for 1 to 6 players, ages 13 and up. Mother of Frankenstein challenged you to solve a series of puzzles in order to learn the truth behind Shelley's infamous monster. While challenging enough for serious puzzlers, it also features a rich emotional narrative composed by New York Times bestselling young adult novelist Tommy Wallach. Yeah, YA. Ooh. No offense to Tommy Wallach, I'm just saying, yeah, YA. Anyway, the narrative will have you and your loved ones feeling all of the feelings. The game is divided into 3 acts, each of which contains a trove of documents and puzzles, all of them beautifully crafted and cunningly designed. I've got a cunning design, me lord. Ostensibly by Mary Shelley herself, in order to reveal a great secret she left to her only surviving child. A bonus edition also includes a full copy of the 1818 edition of Frankenstein, with additional puzzles from Emerald Flame creator Rita Orlov. Volume 1 concerns Mary's teenage years. We learn about her education by her iconoclastic father and complete 3 assignments on the subjects she most loved as a student: poetry, music, and astronomy, each of which is presented in the form of a puzzle. In Volume 2, you'll follow Mary Godwin, Percy Shelley, and Claire Claremont to a ball at Castle Frankenstein. Yes, Castle Frankenstein was a real place. You'll construct a 500-piece circular puzzle of the castle floor plan in order to work out just what happened that fateful evening. Afterward, you'll need to solve the puzzles that alchemist Conrad Dippel set for Mary Shelley while educating her in the nascent field of albinism, research that would one day inspire her famous novel. In Volume 3, you'll return to Castle Frankenstein, which you'll build as a fully realized 300-piece 3D puzzle, which sits atop that 2D puzzle floor plan from Volume 2. Then you'll have to solve a set of fiendish puzzles in order to learn how to construct the elaborate origami roofs for the various castle buildings. Finally, you'll progress through a series of advent calendar-style diary entries while searching out details in the castle, each time placing a new window into the 3D puzzle. By the time you've finished, you'll have finally learned Mary's terrible secret and created a beautiful object you just might want to keep on your mantle forever. Mother of Frankenstein is once again for 1 to 6 players, ages 13 and up, and each volume should take 3 to 5 hours to complete. Gotta be honest, me doing a puzzle gonna take more than 5 hours. I can tell you that right now. Volumes 1 and 2 carry MSRPs of $39.99, while Volume 3's MSRP is $49.99. So that is arriving on May 3rd. I do believe there is also a package where you can get all 3 volumes. I believe it's just at the regular MSRP of the 3 volumes combined. But I gotta say, this strikes me as being pretty interesting. This had a very successful Kickstarter, and it looks like Arcane Wonders stepped in to become the publisher of this. So this is kind of something that you would expect to see from kind of an indie sort of game company. But Arcane Wonders is releasing this. So I believe Flaming Heron had to rock on out. So good to see you, Flaming Heron. Thanks for popping on in and saying hello. Although, oh, sorry, Flaming Heron's mom is in the hospital. I'm very sorry to hear that. Speedy recovery for your mom. So, Coco B is with us in chat. And so is William Helhazayas. So, we've got a couple of folks coming in and replacing Flaming Heron. But no one can replace Flaming Heron. Maybe in chat, but not in our hearts. So I got to say, this looks kind of interesting. This is something a little bit unusual. Moving right along, the Avalon Hill Classic Kingmaker is returning in May by way of Gibsons Games. Here's what I know about the Royal Relaunch Edition. Kingmaker, the Royal Relaunch, depicts the period of English history in the 15th century that became known as the Wars of the Roses. It is based on the premise that the powerful noble families used the Lancastrian and Yorkist royalty as pawns in a greater game for the control of the kingdom. Players maneuver noble pieces representing the leaders of 24 major families in England and Wales in order to gain control over a royal piece of their own, while also eliminating rival royal pieces and weakening their opponents. It is a game of political and military action and the ability to react to unforeseen events. You win by a combination of military, political, and diplomatic skills. There are 4 games in Kingmaker, the Royal Relaunch. The new Kingmaker 2 for 2 to 5 players, for those who prefer a shorter game with a greater variety of win conditions, including prestige gained through domination of the government, cities, and the church. There's also the original classic Kingmaker for 2 to 6 players, where the only path to victory is through controlling the last crowned royal piece. Extended classic Kingmaker with extra crown and event cards, along with additional optional rules for parliament and battles, in which dice can be used to determine whether nobles and royal pieces live or die. There's also the solo challenge for solitaire play. Each player controls a faction consisting of 1 or more nobles. Each noble piece on the board has a corresponding noble card displayed by the controlling player in their faction space. Players can strengthen their nobles with a title, an office, and other cards, such as bishops, mercenaries, and ships. At the beginning of your turn, you draw a card from the event deck, and all players follow its instructions. During your turn, you may move your noble pieces, fight battles, and conduct sieges. You may also have the opportunity to call Parliament to gain the benefit of additional titles and offices, and perhaps a chance to crown a new king. At the end of your turn, you draw from the crown deck, which may enable you to add a new noble to your faction or increase the power of a noble already in play. There is a short video that is going to provide you with a little more information about Kingmaker, the Royal Relaunch Edition. So let's take a peek.
The Kingmaker returns. Experience the legendary classic with an all-new enhanced edition. Set during the tumultuous Wars of the Roses, Kingmaker sees players vying for the crown as they make and break tenuous alliances. Deploy your armies. Recruit nobles to your cause. Capture members of the royal families. Gain titles. Conduct deadly battles and sieges. Beware of uncontrollable events. Eliminate your enemies and make your claim to the throne. All the components have been completely redesigned and upgraded for ease of play, and 4 new game modes introduced. Play Kingmaker II for a shorter and streamlined experience, including regional movement, pre-made factions, and an alternative winning condition using prestige points for your factions, major holdings, and victories. Fear not. You can always re-experience the classic version and play Kingmaker as it was originally released, with the added benefits of upgraded artwork and optimized design. And for anyone looking for a deeper and more immersive experience, you can attempt the Kingmaker Extended Classic that includes an optional battle subsystem, or test your skill in the new solo game mode. At Gibsons Games, we took great care to bring this monumental classic back to the table, partnering with legendary game designer Alan Paul and new art by Matt Edwards to give Kingmaker the special treatment it deserves. Take control of the battlefield, manipulate your nobles into positions of power, scheme and betray your rivals, and pledge now to claim your piece of history today.
Obviously enough, this is not on Kickstarter. It did successfully kickstart, but I did want to share that video because it does provide a much closer look at what you're getting. Kingmaker, the Royal Relaunch Edition, is for 1 to 6 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 2 hours or more, and it will carry an MSRP of $96 when it releases May 15th. Gotta say, I'm intrigued. I had the original Kingmaker, and funny enough, I remember being over at my best friend Elliot Miller's house, setting it up for a few of us to play, and I don't recall if we played it or not. Sort of like, I don't know. I don't know if we played it, but I know I had it. So nice to see another Avalon Hill classic returning to the public. Although this has a multitude of different ways to play, there is also the classic Kingmaker for you as well. Kevin R. Smith is hanging with the gang. Good to see you, Kevin. Kevin says they're not really going to be able to take part in chat, but they are sitting here listening, giving the show a listen. Let's talk about some role-playing game news, because time is running out to back the Swords and Wizardry Complete Revised Kickstarter from Mythmere Games. I've got the skinny on the project. Since 2008, Swords and Wizardry has been the hallmark game for tabletop fantasy role-playing using the 1978 rule set. With less focus on rules, more focus on your friends and the epic adventures you're embarking on together. Swords and Wizardry is the Emmy Award-winning retro clone of the original 1974 to 1978 rules for Dungeons & Dragons, an edition usually called Original D&D or OD&D. Keep in mind, Mythmere Games isn't affiliated with Wizards of the Coast, the publishers and trademark holders of D&D. And Swords and Wizardry isn't compatible or designed for use with modern Dungeons & Dragons. It replicates a much older version of the D&D game rules. This is a complete game with rules for character generation, monsters, magic items, encountered tables, the whole works. For anyone who's completely unfamiliar with the game, Swords and Wizardry is a tabletop fantasy role-playing game. All the rules are in this book, and all you'll need in addition is going to be a set of gaming dice, paper, and pencil. A lot of people play with miniatures, but obviously enough, they are not necessary. Swords and Wizardry is one of the oldest of the old-school Renaissance games, originally written in 2008 with a large following throughout the world. Hundreds of adventures have been written for use with the system by multiple publishers, and these are still compatible with this new version of the game. The game is much more rules light than most fantasy role-playing games, so it's fast and easy to learn the basics and start playing. Swords and Wizardry contains a full set of 9 character classes, all the rules you need to play, including all the monsters, spells, and treasure tables. The game rules of OD&D are similar to the basic expert rules, so this game can be viewed as an advanced version of those BX rules in many ways. There is a short Kickstarter video, so let's take a peek.
Swords and Wizardry is an easy-to-learn fantasy role-playing game with a light rule set designed to be quick to learn and fun for all ages. If you played Dungeons & Dragons in the late 1970s and early 1980s, Swords and Wizardry will take you back to a time when the game was fast-moving and highly improvised. All the rules you need as a player or a referee are in this 144-page book. Swords and Wizardry won an Emmy Award when it was first written in 2008, and now Mythmere Games has created a new, revised version ready for your gaming table. The blue hardcover version has a durable Smythstone binding designed to survive a lifetime of play. There are also 2 hardcover print-on-demand versions. One of these is a green cover with a sigil, like the offset printed book, and the other features the artwork of legendary RPG artist Errol Otis for those who prefer a full-color cover. These print-on-demand versions are ideal for anyone outside the USA who wants to save on shipping costs. Adventure is a wily thief, a brave fighter, a paladin, ranger, assassin, cleric, druid, monk, or magic user in any fantasy realm. Get ready to adventure in the many weird, wild worlds where a game from the 1970s meets the imagination of the next millennium. Thank you for backing our Kickstarter.
Told you that was a quick video. You can receive a copy of the hardcover rulebook for a $35 pledge, or just grab the PDF for a $5 pledge through April 25th. Expected delivery for the digital products is this June, and the expected delivery on the physical releases happens to be this November. So, pretty quick turnaround for both, especially for the PDFs. If you are a follower of the Gaming Gang, you probably already know I reviewed Swords and Wizardry Complete a few years ago. I think it's like maybe 4 years ago. I thought it was great. I thought it was very, very well done. I've interviewed Matt Finch as well. Of course, that was back when he was with Frog God Games, and that's where Swords and Wizardry was at that point in time. Now it is Matt's own company, Mythmere Games, which has Swords and Wizardry. So I'm kind of curious, what are they revising? Are they just cleaning up the presentation? I can see that there's new artwork, obviously enough. I kind of get the feeling that there's just some minor tweaks. So one thing I do want to point out, if you are not overly familiar with Swords and Wizardry, it is original D&D, but the complete edition kind of bolts on concepts from like AD&D and Basic Expert. So it is not simply, oh, fighter, wizard, magic user, thief. Well, even back then it would have been fighter, cleric, magic user. That was the original OD&D character classes. And then they had thief. Now you've got monks and paladins, rangers, things like that as well in Swords and Wizardry. And it's no joke. There are literally, and I do understand how to use that word, hundreds of adventures that have been published for Swords and Wizardry. We've got a bunch of folks who have joined us in chat. Russell Higgins, Vaughn Moore, 245 Trioxin, and Sly Blue Demon have decided to hang out with us. So welcome aboard. So Sly Blue Demon says their OSE books are coming in the mail. Yes, after that other Kickstarter. Vaughn Moore said Swords and Wizardry got them into old school Renaissance, but now they really only run OSE and white box. Yeah, I can see that. I can completely understand that. Russell says, hey, I like this, but I don't do Kickstarter. I get it. I understand. Got to be honest, though. $5 PDF, not too shabby. Although, back in the day, the PDF for Swords and Wizardry was free. So, and if I remember right, I think it was even the Swords and Wizardry Complete was a free PDF. Speaking of PDFs, now available in PDF is the eagerly anticipated Dragonbane from my friends over at Free League Publishing. Here's what I know. Dragonbane is a classic fantasy tabletop role-playing game full of magic, mystery, and adventure. It is designed from the ground up to facilitate fast and furious play, with very little prep time and adventures that are a breeze to run. Dragonbane is a game with room for laughs at the table, while still offering brutal challenges for the adventurers. This boxed core set, PDF though, includes your rulebook with fast and effective D20-based game rules for character creation, skills, combat, magic, and travel. An adventures book with 11 complete adventures to be played separately or tied together in the epic Secret of the Dragon Emperor campaign. The booklet Alone in Deepfall Breach, which allows you to play Dragonbane solo. There's a large map of the Misty Vale, illustrated playing cards for adventures, treasure, and more. 5 pre-generated characters, a blank character sheet, standees for characters and monsters, as well as a battle mat. Dragonbane is a translation of Drakar Akdeminir, Scandinavia's first and biggest tabletop role-playing game, originally launched in 1982. This new and reimagined edition has one foot firmly planted in the heritage of decades of Swedish gaming, and the other in the modern and innovative game design for which Free League Publishing is known worldwide. This 228-page core set PDF for Dragonbane is available as of today at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. I got my copy from Free League Publishing last night. The physical box set is slated for an August release. We will be seeing it. I have already had my connection, my contact at Free League Publishing point out that they are making sure that I will get a copy of that. They usually try to send nearly everything they come out with to me. So we will get a look at that box set. You can pre-order it right now. It's going to carry an MSRP of $48.99. I think if you order it right now at the Free League Publishing website, You will also get the PDF, and you save a few cents as opposed to the MSRP. I think it's something like $48.04. It's kind of odd. Coco B is talking about swords and wizardry, pointing out that they don't have any swords and wizardry. What? We got to ban Coco B? Nah, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. So that blue color looks pretty nice. They are tempted. They are tempted. I got to say, with Dragonbane, I like the artwork. I definitely dig the art style throughout. And I do believe it's a single artist that they have used for the entire core book. It's pretty wild. Last news piece. The Easy D6 Book of Quests is now out in PDF from Runehammer Games. Here's what I know. From the weird brain of DM Scotty comes Easy D6 Book 2, The Book of Quests. Easy D6 has been wildly successful, exploding onto tabletops everywhere, fast, fun play from the wild and wacky table of DM Scotty. Now, Easy D6 fans can play 18 of Scotty's wildest quests in a simple plug-anywhere format that's easy to bring to players fast. It is a 150-page book with 18 complete quests, playable as one-offs or in a huge sequence. Each quest is complete with maps, NPCs, dialogue, monster stats, and a D20 Details to Discover table. There's art by Sean Bova and maps by Robert Rudnicki. The 150-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $27.50. I'm not sure if that's out yet. But right now you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $12.50. Sweet. I know a lot of people have talked about Easy D6 being a really fun, really easy game to wrap your head around. And it seems to me, now I might be wrong, but it seems to me that Runehammer Games is actually focusing more on Easy D6 than index card role-playing. And I think it is because Hanker and Fernale, or any of the other various bylines he goes by, I think he's maybe a little burned out by index card role-playing. And that's why I think the focus is more on Easy D6. But very cool. Very nice to see some more content come out for Easy D6. So pretty sweet. And gotta be honest, $12.50, 150 pages, 18 adventures. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Joseph Quam is with us. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. And Agent Especial is also arriving from the Amazon to take part in chat. Very cool. Very cool. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about some news pieces regarding DriveThruRPG. So don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to visit DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. But if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on over at paypal.me/thegaminggang. the gaming gang and making a small donation. And thank you to the Madman, Roger Prudhomme, and Marcus George for recent donations. And they weren't small donations either. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Agent Especial is pointing out that it is not Jeff Bezos's Amazon that they are arriving from. So Kevin points out the new Swords and Wizardry is going to be de-open game license-ified. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Kevin also points out they backed the Dragonbane Kickstarter, looking forward to getting that box set. Hopefully Kevin gets it before I do. Not like that Twilight 2000. There were people who were pissed. And I could understand, but I was at Gen Con. Free League Publishing reached out to me and they said, hey, we have one copy of Twilight 2000. We want to give it to you to get the word out about it. So I actually had the first copy of Twilight 2000. Backers hadn't gotten it yet. And I know there were some people who were pissed off, but the reality is it wasn't like Free League Publishing was selling Twilight 2000 at Gen Con. We've seen that kind of nonsense before from companies where they go to a convention and they're selling copies of the game and Kickstarter backers haven't gotten theirs yet. So that was not the case. But like I said, hopefully Kevin gets his Dragonbane before I get mine. I'm assuming it is going to be a Gen Con release. So that would be my guess. All right, so we are going to be diving on into the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 Player's Guide in just a few moments. But there was something I did want to mention that I ran across today. And I think it needs to be addressed. So I'll be the first to point out I did not delve too deeply into this controversy, I guess we'll say. I did poke around a little bit. And I saw a bit of a buzz going on Twitter regarding a review that a couple of correspondents from the Dice Tower released for a game from Colossal Games. Now, I have never reviewed anything from Colossal Games, so I don't have any relationship with that company whatsoever. So I guess it was a negative review. Nothing wrong with negative reviews. A lot of companies out there release crap and they know it's not all that great. I have had companies where I have reached out to let them know that it was going to be a less than positive review and why. And a lot of times they'll say, well, you know what, don't bother doing the review. Or, you know, they'll tell me, yeah, you know, we knew there were some issues and things like that. So anyways, this person who I believe is the PR rep for a few companies, because we're seeing that more and more now. We're seeing it more and more where we've got these individuals who represent a handful of gaming companies as far as their PR and things like that. So they took to Twitter to talk about the review and how the review was scathing and they savaged the game. And now they're getting death threats, not the reviewers, the people from Colossal Games. And this rep is getting like really just crazy ass contact. So people, you know, one thing they had mentioned was, you know, they were afraid now that their home address was going to be out there and people were going to come to their house and things like that. So once again, like I said, I didn't go delving too deeply into this because I'm not going to say anything either side as far as, okay, so I will say I highly doubt that the reviewers from the Dice Tower savaged the game. I'm sure it was a negative review, right? Just a negative review. Those things happen. Any reviewer worth their salt, as long as, you know, I don't ambush publishers or creators. It's just not my style. I don't get off on bad reviews. I have seen some reviewers who I think really enjoy giving bad reviews. And, you know, if that's how they get their kicks, that's fine. It's just not my style. But then again, if I have a bad review and the company says, yeah, go ahead, because a lot of times any sort of coverage is good coverage, right? Any publicity is good publicity, right? And in a lot of ways, that's true because, once again, I say it all the time, a review is simply an opinion. But I highly doubt that the reviewers for the Dice Tower got personal or anything like that, because Tom Vassell wouldn't have people working with him who were like that. That's just not how Tom is. So on that side, I think there's been like just too much blowback because this rep was basically saying, oh, well, you know, negative reviews cause problems like this. And, you know, I understand that, you know, there are negative reviews, but, you know, you got to keep in mind people are going to be upset. And it's like, well, wait a second. They told you what they thought of the game. And the thing is, it was not, I guess, a review copy that had been sent to them. They had actually gone out and purchased this game. So the reviewers bought the game and did a review. So the reality is there are weird people in our hobby. They're there. There are some really fucked up individuals who are part of geek culture. You know? There is a reason why some people play role-playing games and board games and things like that. There are people who are like super, super awkward, very socially inept, people with a lot of anger issues. I know a lot of times people tell me, hey, you know, you know, the crowd you've got with the gaming gang and that, you know, they're pretty respectful and everything. And the vast majority of you are. The people in chat, we never have problems in chat. What have we had to do? In how many years have I been doing the live streams now? I think we've banned 2 people, and that was it in all that time. But there are some fucked up individuals. So you can't blame the reviewers and their negative review on suddenly getting these nutbags coming out of the woodwork threatening you and shit like that. It's just people are oddballs. I've said it umpteen times. Back in the day when Dan Slott was writing The Amazing Spider-Man and they decided to have the storyline where they killed off Peter Parker. He was still a ghost. So it's not like they, you know, he's done. So you knew it was going to be a story arc, what, maybe a year? And he'd be back? Because that's how comic books work. Dan Slott was getting death threats. How dare you do that? So Sly Blue Demon asks, what game was this for? As far as I understand, it was some big box. It was some big box release from Colossal Games. So, like I said, I didn't delve too deeply into it, but I don't think it's fair that the reviewers are being called out for a negative review that this person feels has instigated all this negative feedback that they're receiving. They would have gotten negative feedback anyway, because there are some really fucking odd people. So one of the things I was about to say is that a lot of people are like, hey, Jeff, you know, the folks who follow the gaming gang and commenters and that, they're pretty respectable. They're, you know, pretty normal. Yeah, because I delete the really crazy ass comments. So, because I have no time for that. I get comments all the time from people that it's like, I've gotten death threats on my YouTube videos. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm real worried about you. I just delete it because it's like, whatever. I delete them and I block the person. I don't freak out about it. I did this review for Paizo and everybody's threatening me now. I think it's being... So the thing that I have an issue with is the person who's the PR rep is playing it off like reviewers should have to concern themselves about what the nutters are going to do based on their review. Can't do that. You can't approach it that way. Just like I've seen people get pissed off about positive reviews for games that they didn't like or adventures they didn't like for RPGs. And then they put some really nasty comment about the review and how could you give this piece of shit a 9? Stuff like that. So the Madman says only 2 people banned as far as I'm aware. Yeah, because I think the Madman banned one of them. Never understood how someone can make death threats over such minor things or at all. Mad, yes, but come on. I don't even get the mad part. It's like when people were pissed off about like Rings of Power, pissed off about Game of Thrones. Yeah, did I think the final season of Game of Thrones, was it rushed? Did I not care for it as much as all the seasons before it? Yeah. Was I upset by it? No, because it's a television show. Do I think it's weird that George R.R. Martin hasn't finished that damn book? Of course I do. Do I think it's ever going to get finished? Probably not. Am I mad about it? Not in the slightest. 245 Triaxis says, what a weird career path to choose for a person with thin skin. Dante Viper Brandolini's with us. Good to see you. Says, trolls are everywhere in all areas of life. Best to ignore them. Hence, don't feed the trolls. That's right. Dante says, people kill people for ringing their doorbell. Yeah, oh my gosh, that is just horrifying. Horrifying. Agent Especial says that they received review bombing. Yeah, that was me. I did. Said they've also been sent private messages threatening them. Yeah, I get it. It's like, where do these people come from? I don't understand it. I do not understand the vitriol and hatred, the piss and vinegar that people have. It's like, yes, I get it. You can be upset. I'm the kind of person, if I get mad about something, I am really mad. And you'll know I'm mad because my voice drops down. And I speak quieter when I'm really pissed. But I'm one of these people where it's like, oh, got it out. And then that's it. And it's gone because I'm not going to let that shit eat me up. But yeah, I ran across this and it was just sort of like, you can't blame the reviewers for the nutbags out there. You can't do it. And this person, and I like I said, I don't know this rep. I have no relationship with them. I'm not like ripping them. I'm not telling you to go and threaten them or anything like that. I just don't agree with their take that it was the reviewers who somehow sicked these people onto them. No way. No way. Now, if it was somebody else, I would have probably checked out the review. But because it was the Dice Tower, and I know there's absolutely no way. Now, I'm not saying that Tom Vassell doesn't allow negative reviews, because I've seen negative reviews that Tom did that were like, wow, he really did not like that. But it never gets personal. And I'm sure these folks who are working for the Dice Tower didn't get personal either. I'm sure it was just, hey, you know what? This is a piece of shit. You know, this is a steaming pile. It happens. It happens. So Agent Especial said the other day someone bought a book of theirs just so they could give it a 0 review. People are crazy out there. Vaughn says there are more sociopaths out there than you can imagine. Actually, I can imagine quite a lot. Yeah. Had to throw that out there as soon as I saw that. Agent Especial says, but 99% of all of you are great. As far as I find, at least with folks out there who follow this channel and visit thegaminggang.com, I'd say like 99.9% of you are really cool people. But yes, there are folks out there who just want to wind other people up or freak them out. And depending on who you are, they may be successful. They're not successful when they do it to me. So Sly Blue Demon says there are people who spend $5 on a super chat to trash talk the streamer. It's crazy. Well, you know what? Thanks for the $5 to insult me. All right, so we are going to dive on into Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20 and its player's guide in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
What made Milwaukee change its mind? What made Milwaukee change its mind?
Hello, I'm Rex Marshall. Yes, the big beer question these days is, what made Milwaukee change its mind about beer? Well, if you like Milwaukee beer, I guess everybody knows that that's America's best beer. I'm sure you'll be mighty interested in the answer. What made Milwaukee change its mind? Well, let's ask a man from Milwaukee. He ought to know.
Yes, I certainly do know, and I'll tell you all about it. You know, Milwaukee is where almost all the fine, world-famous beers are brewed. Over the years, more and more people, right here in Milwaukee, have come to realize that Blatz is the finest of all the fine beers. That's why today, in these modern times, Blatz is Milwaukee's favorite beer by far. Yes, no doubt about it. The flavor of Blatz is what made Milwaukee change its mind about beer. The Milwaukee Journal proves it in black and white. You see, every year this newspaper conducts a citywide survey on beer preferences and publishes the results. Now see for yourself how Blatz has been preferred by Milwaukee year after year after year. And take a look at this. Nowadays, Milwaukee prefers Blatz by an even greater margin.
Well, you know, winning an honor like that, year after year after year, in America's beer capital, is surely the greatest possible tribute to the flavor of any beer. Don't you agree? So the next time you order beer, remember, it's so easy to enjoy Milwaukee's favorite beer. Just be sure that you order Blatz, Milwaukee's favorite beer, Milwaukee's finest beer.
How's that cigar I gave you?
I like it better than that Wilkins coffee.
Stronger, too, isn't it?
Oh, Chatty Cathy, oh, Mattel's famous talking doll. We pull the ring, and you say 11 different things. Let's play house. Please change my dress. We can change your dresses now, goodness knows. Now you've got a wardrobe full of pretty clothes. For nursery school, you're crisp and cool. For summer, there's a playtime set. In winter, brr, your collar's fur. In a coat as cute as you can get. I love you. You love your mamas, and they love you sleepy time pajamas.
Just pull the ring. You never know what she'll say next.
Tell me a story. The only story now left to tell is a Chatty Cathy's made by Mattel.
You'll find Chatty Cathy and her costume sets wherever toys are sold.
You can tell it's Mattel, it's swell.
Hi, I'm Chatty Cathy, and I'm gonna kill you. And yes, Kevin points out that man wasn't from Milwaukee. He didn't have cheese on his head. Yes, we're just going to talk to just a random Milwaukeean. Just happens to have his newspaper out and has Blatz beer in his hand. Plus, we have seen that 7-Up intermission a few times before, and I still can't get over what is that acting going on with the man in black, right? Kicks the door open, sees it's the commissary, and he's like, what is that? It's like, did he go to the actor's studio to learn that? What? It's the Lee Strasberg method. Yes. Yes. All righty. So tonight, we are going to dive on in for a first look at the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 Player's Guide from Modiphius Entertainment. Written by Nathan Dowdle, John Houlihan, Richard August, Brad Bell, Richard L. Gale, Ben Graybeaton, Bill Heron, Mari Tokuda, and Sam Webb. This 188-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $44. You can grab the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG. It's currently on sale, actually, for $14.99. So Chris Ludgren is swinging on in, as has Mike S. So we've got a nice chat rocking and rolling tonight. So Chris points out, I think it's Love, the Gaming Gang host. He has a Cubs hat on. Yeah. What can I tell you? Born and raised. Been a Cubs fan, a lifelong Cubs fan. In fact, for a long time, I didn't think we'd see a World Series in my lifetime, because there were plenty of lifetimes that went by without it. Anywho, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 Player's Guide. Yes. So let's get the shrink wrap off. So I do want to thank Modiphius Entertainment because I have been reaching out to check this out for a bit, and the Player's Guide and the Game Master's Guide had both been out of print. So the truth is, Modiphius Entertainment didn't really need to send me these because they didn't necessarily need any more coverage for Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20. But thankfully, they have sent these along. So very nice. Very, very nice. So let's take a look at the back here. And before we dive on in, I should mention, obviously enough, that the fine folks over at Modiphius Entertainment sent this review copy along. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. So Kevin says the Cubs, just another baseball team with nothing special about them since 2016. Oh, Kevin, you're coming very close to getting banned. Very close. It's getting banned. All right, let's take a look at the back here. Welcome to the secret war in this fast-paced, pulp-influenced roller coaster of an RPG, which nimbly mixes the sanity-challenging terror of Lovecraftian cosmic horror with the chaos and heroism of World War II. Enter a world of audacious Allied agents, malicious Nazi villains, and the unfathomable gods and monsters of the mythos themselves, each striving for supremacy in mankind's darkest yet finest hour. Answer the call with the dauntless men and women of the Allied occult forces. Man, the text is kind of small. Britain's Section M, the United States Majestic, and the brave resistance, all willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to hold back the legions of the Nazi occult. Battle of the Black Sun, Nazi warrior sorcerer supreme who use foul magic and summon creatures from nameless dimensions to dominate the battlefields of men. Struggle against Nackwolf, the Night Wolves, who utilize technology, biological enhancements, and Wunderwaffen, wonder weapons, to win the war for Germany. Can you prevail against such overwhelming odds, or will you succumb, like so many others, to the terror of the Nazi occult or the malign influence of the mythos? This is your story to tell. So let's jump on in. Yes, Kevin points out that they reviewed the PDF. Yes, for the Gaming Gang. All right, so do want to point out we are not going to look at each and every page, but we are going to get a good feel for what's in the player's guide. So let's take a peek. Definitely like the artwork that I have seen for Achtung Cthulhu. Now, from my understanding, this is far pulpier. The 2D20 edition is far pulpier than it had been previously. So I remember reviewing the first release that ever came out from Modiphius Entertainment, and it was an adventure for Achtung Cthulhu back when the system was designed for Call of Cthulhu. So I thought that was kind of cool. If I remember right, I thought the adventure was okay. But one thing that did stand out was its presentation. And as you can see with this player's guide, pretty nice presentation. Pretty cool. Agent Especial is rocking that out. It is dinner time. All right, well, thank you very much for hanging with us. Chris says it looks cool. Never been much interested in the game until now. If it's a complete system, I might bite after this. My understanding is that the player's guide is the rule book. So, as Kevin's pointing out right now, there is a Game Master's Guide, but I don't think the Game Master's Guide is needed to actually run the game. I could be wrong. Because keep in mind, I have not personally taken a look at this. So we got playing the game. So yes, we used 20-sided dice because it is 2D20. And I think that this is a less crunchy version of the 2D20 system. So that is one thing with Modiphius Entertainment and their 2D20 games, which not all of their games are 2D20. A great many of them are. But they tend to kind of vary as far as complexity. So, say for an example, like Star Trek, which actually has a starter set coming out soon. Star Trek tends to be on the more rules light side, whereas Fallout tends to be a bit crunchier, but that's because that's what people are looking for. People expect crunchier rules for a Fallout role-playing game. So, John points out, Star Trek Adventures uses the 2D20 system. Chris says, wife says if it's a complete game, they can get it for their birthday. Well, thank you, Mrs. Lundgren. I'm thanking her for Modiphius Entertainment on their behalf, not my behalf. So, talking about miniatures. Oh, buy some miniatures, go with this. So we've got our action talking about distances, distance and perception, movement and terrain, action orders, alternate turns. So after you've completed your turn, the owning player hands the action to the opposing side. So as an example, from player characters to GM-controlled NPCs, or vice versa, who will then choose a single character to take the next action. Interesting. So we do have initiative. So I will take a guess that our initiative, we're effectively looking at the winner of initiative. One character gets to do something. Then the other side has a character do something, then back and forth. So Sly Blue Demon says they've got the 2D20 Conan game. Never played it. Gotta say, it's too bad that they lost the license, because regardless of what you think of the 2D20 system, and yes, for Conan, it was a little more on the crunchy side. They really did some yeoman's work with Conan and the various different supplements that came out. The ones that I got a chance to see in PDF, really, really nicely done. And now I'm trying to remember who just got the license for Conan. Because I just recently saw something about they're coming out with a Conan role-playing game. And I off the top of my head, I cannot remember who it was, because it wasn't really a news piece. It was just sort of like, hey, this is going to be coming out from us. Christopher Rush is hanging out. Good to see you. So Christopher points out, yeah, Modiphius tailors the 2D20 to fit the setting, like Dune was super light. Yes. Dune is super light. Dune is also kind of a scene-based role-playing game as well. And then Christopher says, Dune is pretty freaking sweet. Yes. I thought it was really well done. I have talked to Chris Birch over at Modiphius a few times. It's been a few years since I interviewed him. But last time I interviewed him, Star Trek Adventures was coming. And I remember asking him that, did he ever see Modiphius Entertainment becoming so big when he first released that adventure for Call of Cthulhu, for Achtung Cthulhu, because they have come a long, long way. I'd say right now, when you're looking at like licensed role-playing games, you're kind of looking at Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. So Christopher says, yeah, even the Conan GM screen was a beast. So Chris says they saw a while back in OSR Conan but never got it. So here we have our character creation. So we've got our starting attributes. We've got agility, brawn, coordination, insight, reason, and will. All start at 6. Of course, you're going to be able to boost those up. We have different archetypes. We've got skills. We have skill focuses. We have an archetype talent. We've got backgrounds. So, building blocks of your character: agility, brawn, coordination, insight, reason, and will. So, our attributes range from 6 to 12, with 8 representing the average. I would assume we've got some NPCs that are going to be higher or lower than 6. I would take a guess our character's minimum is 6 to start off with, just because they're heroes. So Chris says they love Star Trek adventures, but no one plays in their area of Orange County. Well, that sucks. So here we've got our archetypes, right? Let's see what we've got. The Boffin. So I would figure that is your technical fixer, the fix-it person, I guess. The Commander, con artist, grease monkey, infiltrator, investigator, occultist, soldier. Hey, there we go. That's a little bookmark. So those are our archetypes. I wonder if there are more archetypes in the Game Master's Guide. Curious. Mike says they just got 5 leagues from the Borderlands from Modiphius. I was kind of curious about that. I should reach out to my contacts at Modiphius and see maybe about taking a peek at that, because it looked pretty interesting. All right, so here we've got our background. So we've got academic, Air Force, Army, athlete, covert operative, criminal, driver, engineer, entertainer, journalist, game reviewer. Oh, I'm kidding. Laborer, military officer, Navy, physician, police, politician, resistance, and spiritual leader. So we get a breakdown of each of these and what bonuses to your attributes, what skills you get, or bonuses to skills. Different focuses, different talents. So we get a sample character there. So we have a characteristic. 5th key part of building your character is your characteristic. Characteristics mark you as distinct, unusual, and extraordinary in some way. They indicate why you were recruited into the secret war, why you were drawn away from the front lines and thrust into perilous occult battles against the Black Sun, Noctwolf, and their inhuman allies. Chris asks, does this game come with a built-in adventure, or are there separate ones? There are separate adventures. In fact, as a bonus, we're going to take a peek at one tonight when we finish taking a look through this. And one cool thing about Modiphius Entertainment, and they do this for a lot of their RPGs, from time to time, they will release free adventures. They do it for Achtung, Cthulhu quite a bit. They do it for Star Trek Adventures quite a bit. I think there's 2 free adventures for Dune. So we got Bookworm, Born Behind the Wheel, built like a brick outhouse. Not exactly the term I remember hearing. Conscientious Objector, Criminal Mindset, Dilettante, Dreamwalker, Escape from Europe, Experimental Subject. My Wars Started Early, Nomadic, Own an Occult Artifact, Raised by a Cult, Raised in the Colonies, Read from an Occult Book once, only once. My mother hung me from a meat hook once. only once. Scientific visionary, street kid, the lucky one, veteran, I should say, of the Great War, and choose either wanted by the authorities or young at heart. And of course, you can roll a d20 and just, go with what comes along. So Chris says, oh, wow, free adventures for Star Trek. I need to find those players. So we got our finishing touches. So here it tells us what bonuses and that we get for the various different, what were they called here? Characteristics. All right, so here is our example character, Sarah Rue Walker. So we get into our talents. All talents are labeled with one or more keywords, which group similar talents together. Keywords are labels that signify which skills or rules a talent applies to. Some keywords can restrict your access to the talent or its use. If a keyword lists no limitations or restrictions, then none apply. So we've got like advisor, collaboration. So we've got some talents broken up into categories. So we've got academia, athletics, engineering, fighting. Take a little of that with you. Medicine, observation, persuasion, an answer for everything. Resilience, stealth, and survival, as well as tactics. Oh, vehicles, there we go. And then we've got weird. Tools of the trade. So here we go. We've got our gear. So it looks like we got a discussion of our carrying capacity, rifles and shotguns, submachine guns. So I would take a stab in the dark that this book is probably not going to reveal much of the mythos to us, because I get the feeling that this is all of our rules. And we will find out tomorrow, because we're going to take a look at the GM's guide on tomorrow's show. So John points out, check out the website for adventures, because they got tons, but they don't have players for Star Trek. Usually you're going to find those free adventures if you go to the Modiphius Entertainment website, modiphius.net. Those links are just going to send you over to DriveThruRPG. So what you should do is you should go over to thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banner ads, and then do a search for Star Trek Adventures. I'm kidding. I don't get a commission on free. Yep, I got 5% of nothing. All adds up to nothing. Right, so we got panzers. We've got different vehicles. All right, now we're going to get into magic, types of spell casting. So one of the things that I have always kind of, how do I want to present this? One thing that I have always felt would be a stumbling block for a World War II role-playing game with mythos elements such as this. And you may recall Cubicle 7 Entertainment had a really excellent series of their World War Cthulhu, which was also World War II with the mythos. Thing that I'm curious about, and I think is a stumbling block, and it's something that Cubicle 7 Entertainment avoided very nicely, is how do you rectify the mythos and the human evils of the Nazis? you don't want to present it, at least to me, I would feel it's not very respectful if you present it as if, well, the Nazis can kind of blame it on the mythos. Yeah, that's what happened. No. And one thing that Cubicle 7 Entertainment did really, really well is that they never used the mythos as any sort of crutch. Something else that I'm kind of curious about too is when if you're going to be trying to simulate actual events, actual historical battles and things like that, if you're doing a campaign, wouldn't you think that as whatever historical battle that let's say you did the Bulge, right? Once you get past that, everything's going to change, right? You can't really have those same events taking place. You can't really have that same timeline. So you really have to kind of go off, I was going to say off script, but you know what I mean. You can't necessarily have, you can't really do like historical games. And the reality is I probably wouldn't want to do a lot of historical stuff. I would kind of like to have the war go, in different directions. So Chris points out that they were a demo rep for 8 years with Catalyst Game Labs. I am so sorry, Chris. I really, really am. Yeah, that's a company. Just sometimes wonder what are they doing. So said they had a 1945 game using BattleTech rules for World War II. It was pretty fun. There are a few various different. Well, you used to have Dust. You had Dust that was out there. That was Palo Prenta. But they closed shop, a couple of years ago, I think it was. Somebody had told me that on the show. I hadn't realized it. All right, so then we got our allied forces. So it looks like they're just kind of NPCs, common NPCs. Got our character sheet. So once again, like I said, kind of a rule book without much mythos to it, which is cool for me because I hate when my players get their hands on mythos stuff. Christopher says they're looking forward to Invictus Cthulhu 2D20. Yes, that I shared a news piece of. I'm not positive when we're going to see that. Pretty sure that's going to go to Kickstarter. So Quantum Phase Dragon is joining us a little late. Good to see you. So Kevin says, if they remember correctly, the GM's book gives advice on how to handle the progress of the war in your campaign. I would think. Russell Higgins points out, yes, there's World War II for Savage Worlds. I know that's fairly popular. All right, so that is the player's guide for Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20 from Modiphius Entertainment. Now, real quick, we are going to take a peek at the adventure Assault on the Fuhrer Train. So there are a couple of adventures before this. And of course, as I mentioned before, we have some free adventures as well. So please keep in mind, this is an adventure. So if you are a player hoping that your game master is going to run Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 or this adventure itself, then I would recommend you tune out now. We're kind of close to the end of the show already. So Russell says Dust 1947 couldn't get things to market from China. They kind of closed up shop with stuff on the boat. Yeah, that was kind of odd because Palo Prenta was from Spain, if I remember right, Spain or Portugal, and he lived in China because it was far easier for him to have the models and that, the miniatures and stuff produced. And at one point in time, Dust had been with Fantasy Flight Games. They had Dust Tactics, and then it was a very strange sort of setup. And the funny thing is, Paulo really was an artist. I mean, that's how Dust got started. He was just doing art of like cheesecake girly pinups and stuff. All right, so Assault on the Fuhrer Train. Where's our MSRP, folks? I don't see it. I think. Gotta be honest, I don't know. I think this is like $8.99 on DriveThruRPG, but I don't know. I assume that there'd be a price on the back, but there's not. All right, so let's see, what do we got? Who are we going to give credit for? Where's our credit for our adventure? John Houlihan. There you go. He's our mission design and writer. So there you have it. Why does that name ring a bell? I know John from somewhere, from other games. All right, so what is Achtung Cthulhu? Well, it is a setting for Lovecraftian role-playing during World War II, which allows players to discover the truth behind the malign influence of the mythos on the Nazi war machine and beyond, as conflict engulfs the globe during 1939 to 1945, talking about the system, giving us an overview. So, the Raid on the Fuhrer Express is not really intended as a standard adventure. Instead, it is written as an action-oriented thrill ride for what players' appetites, to whet players' appetites for the main Forest of Fear campaign, which just recently came out. So, John points out it is 1901 in print, 1014 in PDF. That's very, very odd. But yeah, the Modiphius Entertainment pricing is always, it's like Free League Publishing. It's always kind of strange. Well, like the MSRP, like the MSRP is probably like $18.99 or $19.99. So yes, Forest of Fear is the big new campaign, which I do believe is the Battle of the Bulge. I'm pretty sure. John says, I know, right? So we have a Game Master's briefing. So it is November 1944. So the Bulge hasn't started yet. And it looks like this takes place in the Ardennes. There you go. So once again, we have scene-based adventures, right? So we got scene 1, a visitor from Berlin. A leap of faith. The great steel behemoth. Locomotive is a real behemoth comprised of a dark black metal. Its sleek, angular design pierces the air like a gigantic projectile. The engine is fully enclosed, and although there are conventional smokestacks, no smoke emerges from its forbidding frame. Dun, dun, dun. So here we've got the Assault, Act 2. So one thing I will point out that I've kind of noticed peeking at some of the, Chris says, so $20 for the core rules? No. $44 for the player's guide. $14.99 in PDF on sale right now. I think it's normally like $21.99 or $22.99 over at DriveThruRPG. As I was going to say, it usually seems like the adventures are a little light on artwork. We have a lot of maps and a lot of diagrams. But as far as art, I've noticed it's a little bit light on the artwork, especially like the free adventures, which is fine. It's like, hey, it's a free adventure. I don't necessarily need art. So we've got our adversaries and antagonists. So we've got our various different NPCs. Oh, there we go. There's a monster. Looks like it is a Shoggoth shock soldier. Nice. Got our handouts here as well. So what are we clocking in? About, I'm going to guess like 52 pages or so. It's like quite a few handouts. Oh, nice. Got the handouts for the various different cars of the Fuhrer Train. And then what we have, pre-gens? Yep, pre-gens. Uh, 51 pages, so I was close. I was off by one. So it is November 1944, and as winter descends, the Allied advance rumbles to a halt on the borders of Fortress Germany. The U.S. Army and German defenders settle down in a stalemate as they watch each warily across the Siegfried line. In just a few short days, Operation Watch on the Rhine, or the Battle of the Bulge, as I pointed out, as history will come to know it, will be launched. But other forces are also at play in the snowy Ardennes. Bum, bum, bum. Hey, if you are not overly familiar with the Battle of the Bulge, I should point out that that was a much tighter thing than people seem to realize these days. Because early on, the Germans were just kicking the shit out of the Americans. It was very touch and go. It was a very lucky thing that the Americans were able. I mean, you know, eventually that offensive was going to be stopped, but could have gone way further, and things could have been a lot trickier if that advance had gone further on, and the war would have stretched out probably at least another year. So there are a few Battle of the Bulge books that are really, really good that you should check out. And of course, let's not forget Band of Brothers, HBO. There's I think it's a period of about 2 or 3 episodes that all revolve around the Battle of the Bulge. Fantastic show. What a great show that was. All right, so that was a look at the player's guide for Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20, as well as a quick peek into the assault on the Fuhrer Train. Chris points out Sherman tanks were fast but not deadly compared to Tigers. Came down to numbers. Yeah, one of the problems that the German tankers, not just with Tigers, Jagdpanthers and Tiger 2s, things like that, is things would break down. They didn't know how to fix it. Or things would break down and there were absolutely no replacement parts whatsoever. So, Chris says, wife needs convincing. If everyone gets it for Robbie's birthday, maybe. So Man says, they won't be getting it for their birthday, but they do get other RPGs, board games, etc. Man points out, yep, Tigers broke down a lot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. So on tomorrow's show, we're going to dive on into the Game Master's Guide and dig on into that. Mike also points out they need fuel that they didn't have. Yeah, there were a lot of things. Hey, trust me, it's not as if I were like, I wasn't rooting for them, okay? I'm not rooting for them like, you know. But I got stuck playing Germans a lot with war games because it was like, okay, well, if I didn't play as the Germans, we weren't playing. So it was like, fine. I'll be the Germans again. It's like Twilight Struggle. I think I have played Twilight Struggle at least 50 times. That's how much I really love that game. And I think I haven't played the US as the US more than maybe 3 times out of those 50. Chris asks, have I looked at the 4th edition of Basic Fantasy? No, I have not. Chris Gonnerman and Basic Fantasy? Yeah, I'll have to take a peek. I thought I heard something through the grapevine that there was a new edition of it. I'm curious if it's still going to remain free, or you can pick it out as far as like for the cost of printing, because I have it. I've got Basic Fantasy and basically everything. Basically, I have got Basic Fantasy. I've got that as well as just about everything that was available through Amazon for Basic Fantasy. So I've got a section of the bookcase behind me. It's just lower down, about that much space devoted to all the stuff from Basic Fantasy. I think it's very, very cool. I think it's really, really well done. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there complain about how expensive it is to play role-playing games, and that is really not the case. There is plenty of amazing free content out there, or practically free. I mean, even if you think about it, real quick, and then I'll wrap up because this is one of the longest shows we've had in a while. If you think about it, even if you spent like say $15 on a PDF for a role-playing game, you really don't have to ever spend anything else. You've got the rules, you got everything in front of you. So I don't know how familiar some of you are with Ken Hite, but I remember having pizza with him near O'Hare Airport with my best friend Elliot and some folks from AEG. In fact, John Zinzer from AEG. And Ken Hite was talking about how, you know, creating role-playing games, nobody gets rich creating role-playing games, because the reality is if you put together like a really good, solid core rule book, people don't need anything else. That's it. That's all they got. So, all right. Anyway, so tomorrow we're going to look at the Game Master's Guide for Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20. And then, as I was talking about, next week, next Monday, I will dive on in for a first look at Destinies from Lucky Duck Games, who now have a new logo. Just got an email from them saying, hey, there's a new logo for Lucky Duck. Then on Tuesday, we are going to take a look at Territory Tribes at War, which I have opened up the box, took a peek inside. This looks kind of cool. This looks pretty interesting. So that's on next Tuesday's show, week from today. And then a week from tomorrow, thanks to John, it was Stephen Loudermilk. We're going to dive on into this box set for Castles and Crusades. I believe this is the A0 through 5 adventures that are, I believe, in one book. So, yeah, Stephen sent this along for us to take a peek at. Very, very cool. So we will. And then, of course, I had loads of other stuff on the horizon. Yes. So there's some discussion about Basic Fantasy. Kevin pointing out it's got a bunch of free supplements. Everything for Basic Fantasy digitally is absolutely free. Completely free. And there is hundreds and hundreds of pages of content. They got a fantastic community as well. And one of the cool things about Basic Fantasy too is that they've got a lot of adventures that are sort of the classic AD&D adventures converted to Basic Fantasy without actually being AD&D adventures. You know what I mean? Jelly beans. So, excellent. All right. So that is it for tonight's show. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Pathfinder 2nd Edition Treasure Vault from Paizo Inc. Yes, bunch of items in here. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you were watching live and took part in chat, big tip of the cap to you. Thank you very much for keeping me company and also keeping each other company as I sit here and ramble on and page through stuff. Of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.